Hi, students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I am streaming to you live from beautiful Victoria here in British Columbia, the westernmost province of Canada. I hope everybody has had a good week so far and is looking forward to a fantastic weekend. Welcome, Jaineel. Hi, Sammy. Good to see our members in the class. This session is for members chat only. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. And while we wait for a few more members, saw Pawan just joined in. This lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. For the general IELTS, check us out at ieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we have lots of help for your speaking, your writing, listening, reading, making sure that you improve your English communication, and of course, increase your band scores. Welcome, Carolina, our moderator. Hi, Rajveer, Manny Deep Gaud, and Rashika. Good to see many students in the class today so quickly. It's awesome. All right, let me just show you our websites real quick, everyone. If you haven't yet, join us here. This is our academic IELTS website at aehelp.com. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. This is our general IELTS web portal here. It's with the green background, and you can click this big red button to join. We are an official British Council IELTS registration center and certified agents. So you're in good hands with us. If you have questions, just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. All right. Welcome, June and Nick Hill. So we're going to get right into our task 2. This is a continuation from yesterday's class. Yesterday, we composed an introduction to this question here. So let's just look over the question, the introduction, and then the goal for today is to write the body paragraphs, and of course the conclusion. So IELTS task 2 writing, you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. As certain regions of the world become increasingly warmer, people are forced to find alternative solutions for places to live. Discuss the causes and consequences of this change. Include explanations and examples for your arguments. Write at least 250 words. And as some of you can probably guess, this question was inspired by some of the heat waves that we're experiencing here in Canada, and I think in some other parts of the world as well. So, we did some really good planning yesterday, and then composed our introductory paragraph. So this is our introductory paragraph. Let's just take a look at this. It has 3 parts: hook, background, thesis statement. Okay. Global warming is forcing a major shift in the habitats of billions of human lives. Some places, especially equatorial climate zones, are becoming too hot, 45 degrees plus, and people are forced to move to cooler, more northern and southern climates. Individuals have difficulty being productive and staying healthy in places of extremely high temperatures. They are forced into air-conditioned environments to avoid heat stroke and sunstroke. And then here we go. This is the thesis. It's very important. Both human activity and natural change is causing this phenomenon, and the consequences are increasing competition and conflict. Okay, so here we have our causes and consequences, and you can clearly see from this thesis statement that the causes will be one paragraph and the consequences will be another paragraph. There's no solutions in this essay. It's just the causes and the consequences. So let's get going on body paragraph 1. And what do we do to start body paragraph 1? So can you tell me what my next step is in my essay composition? And it really is kind of a recipe. Of course, you have to use your own original thought, and you have to find the right words to express yourself. But the actual format, the structure of the essay is a recipe. It is a standard because there are standard ways to create arguments or to present ideas so that it's clear for your audience. Okay, Carolina says, start by writing a topic sentence. And Sammy says that topic sentence, right, is a definition of the first part of the thesis or the first point in the thesis. Yeah, exactly, right? So topic sentence, which further defines point 1 in the thesis. Exactly. So that's what you start with. And in this case, that is our causes. So in this case, it's human activity and natural change causing the phenomenon of global warming. Okay. All right. So give me a deeper definition of human activity causing the change of global warming. Be critical, think critically, and also natural change. I don't think you want to separate these into two elements. Again, the IELTS is minimum 250 words, but maximum about 350, 400, 350, and then some time to review, okay? So give me a nice definition of both human activity and natural change. Okay, think about some correlative conjunctions here as well. I'm going to do the same and then we'll compare. Okay, we're going to move nice and smooth in today's class so that we can really just go step by step and finish this essay. Okay. All right. So there is my topic sentence that gives a much deeper definition to the thesis point. Okay, I'm going to read this while you're composing yours. Again, remember students that you do have to build writing fluency. So it's good to do that in these classes. Do push yourself to create these sentences in a relatively short amount of time. Okay, again, you have to be able to fit planning, composing, and reviewing all into the 40 minutes and write at least 250 words. Okay. All right, Rajveer writes, not only human activities have drastically increased the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, but also changes in the Earth's trajectory with respect to the sun leads to global warming. Yeah, okay. It's good, Rajveer. It's somewhat similar to mine. So I wrote both the shift in the Earth's relative position to the sun, as well as the rapid industrial evolution of humans are lending way, notice this interesting expression here, are lending way to rapidly increasing surface temperatures on our planet. Okay, lending way means to influence, to cause. Okay, so both the shift in the Earth's relative position to the sun, as well as the rapid industrial evolution of humans, are lending way to rapidly increasing surface temperatures on our planet. All right. Jainil writes, these days people are facing warmer climates than in the past, than past weather in certain parts of the world due to both human deeds and Earth positioning to the sun. Not bad, Jainil. It's a little bit on the awkward side, but it's not bad. Okay. All right. June writes, both human activities such as deforestation and overuse of fossil fuels, as well as the change in the distance between the Earth and the sun, contribute to the increasing temperature of the atmosphere of our planet. Okay, June, so you're kind of going a little bit into explanation using such as, which is okay. You can do that. Again, as long as you reach the 250 words, it's fine. You can combine your topic sentence with your explanation. Just make sure that you're clear on the fact that you are going into the explanation with your topic sentence as well. Okay? All right. Better late than never, Paulo. Jump on in. Sammy writes, individuals using the latest technology that includes many poisonous gases and development of buildings and industries that cause the global warming. Sammy, good fluency, some grammatical errors there. Again, separate out the topic from the explanation. Pedro writes, these days the increase in farmer production are requiring a dramatic amount of water and land. In this sense, consuming or destroying our ecosystems around human beings. Pedro, you need to get to the point. So you're not clearly connecting your idea to this question, to this topic. You have to make direct connections, okay? Good essays that get high band scores have very clear direction. So you have to keep thinking about global warming, people moving to other regions of the world. That has to be in your mind with every sentence that you write. Okay. Deepika says, inventions by mankind like the air conditioners, refrigerators, vehicles, which release harsh chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons and CO2 into the atmosphere, causes thinning of the ozone layer, lending to... Deepika, that sounds like your explanation much more than your topic sentence. So again, make sure that it's clear what is the topic sentence, what is the explanation, okay? The explanation is coming up now, okay? So explanations should be real world and should be quantitative, should be logical, and should be directly related to your topic sentence. Okay, that's the idea of an explanation. So basically with mine, the question that the reader would have here is, okay, well, what do you mean the Earth's relative position to the sun is shifting? Okay, so here I have to be kind of clever, and I have to really think about that, right? So here is the sun, okay? Here is our Earth. I'm going to draw it much bigger than it actually is, obviously. So here, I'm a visual thinker, okay? Throughout the IELTS exam, I'm visualizing. So as soon as I walk into my IELTS exam center, I have to keep in mind the strategy that I have to see information. If I cannot see information, it's very difficult for my audience to see information, right? So here we have our sun, here we have the Earth. Okay, and as one can imagine, so the Earth has a rotation like this, and the Earth has a rotation like this around the sun. Okay, No, you do not have to study astronomy. Just think about your basic elementary school science classes, right? So you have the sun. So the Earth can shift on its axis. Okay, that's its axis. And as we know, it is shifting on its axis. Okay, and it can also change its trajectory and its distance from the sun. And both of those clearly will have an effect on the weather patterns and on climate on Earth. Okay, it's kind of a naive idea to believe that our Earth makes the exact same rotation on its axis and around the sun nonstop, right? So that's kind of the natural phenomenon which lends to changes in weather patterns, warmer or colder temperatures. Also, of course, the changing temperature of the sun, but we're not going to get into that, and that's probably a different timeline anyway. So that's kind of what we're talking about with the Earth's relative position. And then rapid industrial evolution. So I explained this part. You tell me, what does rapid industrial evolution mean when we're referring to increasing temperatures? So what do you think? Okay. What would you think makes logical sense? You don't have to write your sentence for your explanation yet. Just give me some ideas, some note form or point form ideas in the chat. So rapid industrial evolution. What do you think I mean when I say that in my topic sentence? What am I actually referring to for my reader? Okay. How will I explain that? So what's my logical content in that case? Okay, while you do that, I'm going to start writing the first part of my explanation, which is the shift in the Earth's relative position to the sun. Okay. All right. All right. While I think about how to finish my sentence, let's see what you've come up with. Rajveer says factories are using machines which produce air pollution and increases CO2 in the atmosphere. Deepika says flights to and from. Pawan says increased pollution. More waste. Yes, deforestation. Paula Reese is asking, shouldn't the name Earth be capitalized because it's the name of our planet, right? Yeah, you can. And the reason why we capitalize Earth is because we refer to the Earth as in the soil as Earth as well. And if we're talking about soil, we keep it a small e. But when we're talking about the planet, we often refer to it as a big E. Both are okay. All right, there's no conclusive rule on that. So the sun is the name of our star, yet we still don't capitalize it. So the sun and the earth, it's a little bit of a confusing one, Paulo. It's a good question. You won't lose marks if you have small e instead of a big E. Okay. So both are okay, Paulo, is the simple answer. Okay. So Pawan says air pollution, water pollution, land pollution. Yeah, Deepika says invention of plastics. Okay, what do we call the modern era that kind of started in Britain during the 1700s, 1800s? Think about that as well. Kelsey, good to see Kelsey in the class, says rapid industrial development. Yeah, what we can say simply there is industrial revolution, right? Brought new machines that produce pollution. Yeah, so factories, the establishment of factories and mass production, okay? And of course, as a result, a booming population as well, right? So over the past couple of centuries, so go ahead, everyone, and now write your explanation, okay? Write the explanation and then we'll compare. So over the past couple of centuries, the Earth has shifted both on its axis as well as distance to the sun, which has resulted in temperature increase. This has been accelerated by the Industrial Revolution. Okay, I'm going to keep a little bit quiet so you can hear yourself think while I finish this sentence. All right. One important point, Paulo, going back to that question about Earth being capitalized, is if you start with a small e and you refer to the Earth with a small e in the beginning, make sure you have consistency. Sometimes students ask, like, do I need to use British or American spelling of words? It doesn't really matter. What's really important is that if you choose one spelling, so you choose the British spelling of a word, then you have the same spelling of that word in the entire essay. So you don't change from British to American, okay? All right. Okay, let's see what some of our students have written for the explanation. All right. Nick Hill says harmful gases released by factories like CO2 and deforestation and CFCs used in refrigerators. Okay, that's part of your sentence, Nick Hill. I'll try to find the rest of it later on. Janil says, in light of my notion, people are cutting trees, polluting seas in the air for improving their quality of life. So the Earth's atmosphere is... All right, Janil, this is not a first-person essay, so be careful, okay? This is a third-person essay. We don't have an I, me, my opinion in the thesis, all right? Be very careful. All right, June says, scientific reports provide information that Earth revolution over 1,000 years have resulted in shorter distances between the Earth and the Sun, which is leading to higher surface temperatures on the Earth. Okay, June, you have a good idea. Again, concise. So I think you can express that in a much more concise way. So scientific reports explain that the Earth's revolution over the past millennium have resulted in a shorter distance between the Earth and the Sun, leading to higher surface temperature, period. Okay? So, and I think we can make it even more concise if I thought a little bit more about it and went over it once or twice. Okay, we have a question here from Deepika. Deepika says, what if we, or I, didn't know much scientific information like Earth's axis, distance, blah, 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 and then thinking emoji, emoji. It's a good question, Deepika. IELTS is a thinking exam. That's why when you're sitting the academic version, you're doing the academic version and not the general version. The information that you know, the way that you are able to access your knowledge from elementary school, middle school, high school, and so on, will have an effect on your mark, of course. So especially, Deepika, at the band 7, 8, 9 level, content becomes much more important. So once you're at a band 7, especially a band 8, the examiners are really looking at the content and not just your ability to use grammar and vocabulary and have the correct essay structure. So if you can't think of the scientific knowledge that is a big part of the answer, you're not going to get as good of a mark. That's the simple, or that's the truth, I guess, Deepika, in that case. All right. Janelle writes, furthermore, some natural changes in the sun and Earth's orbits, where both shift from their position, are giving rise to the temperature during the summer and winter months. So, Janelle, you have a really nice start to your explanation. I would stay away from saying during the summer months, because even winters are becoming much warmer, right? That's why a lot of places don't get snow anymore where they used to. So it's not exclusive to the summer months. Summer is just when we really feel the heat, okay? Sammy says, people in their regular life use both vehicles for transportation and cooling machines like refrigerators and air conditioners, which release greenhouse gases. Also, cutting down the trees and the construction of factories and buildings lead to global warming. Okay, good, Sammy. So you're sticking to the human impact of global warming, which is fine. And that's kind of another perspective, Deepika, is if, for example, you're not referring to the sun, but you're focusing more on the human impact, that's okay too, all right? But of course, you have to have at least one of those two clearly figured out, okay? All right, and then now we talk about an example, right? The example has to be specific and real world. Okay. So let me give you an example of the example, and then you'll see what I mean. Make sure that, again, it's specific, it's quantitative, it's visible. So a good example is an example where your reader can empathize with what you're writing. Okay, so okay, So I'm just kind of coming up with this, but you could use any country that's kind of an equatorial climate. In Saudi Arabia, the average temperature over the course of the past decade has increased by 1 degree Celsius annually, and now summer highs can reach over 50 degrees, forcing many citizens to find other places to migrate to. Okay? All right. So go ahead and write your example. While you do that, I'm going to review my paragraph and make sure that it makes sense for the reader and make sure that it's related to the question clearly. Okay? So when you finish a paragraph, it's a good idea to stop for a moment and then review that paragraph. So in your task 2 writing for the IELTS, what I suggest doing, it's a good strategy, it's an effective strategy, and practice this at home so you make sure that you can reach both your word limit and not go over your time limit, is when you finish a paragraph, like you finish your introduction, read it, make corrections, then write your body paragraph 1. When you finish your body paragraph 1, read it, make corrections, then write your body paragraph 2. Welcome, Bior Atem. Nice to have you in our group of members. Please make sure to send me an email so I can send you your videos and your exams. Okay, so here we go. Both the shift in the Earth's relative position to the sun as well as the rapid industrial evolution of humans are lending way to rapidly increasing surface temperatures of our planet. I don't like the repetition of the word rapid and rapidly, okay, even though they're different word forms. So I'm going to be more concise and I'm just going to take away rapidly. Okay, if I really wanted to keep that, I could do quickly. At least it's different, but I don't need it, I don't think. So I'm going to be more concise. Okay, so both the shift in the Earth's relative position to the sun as well as the rapid industrial evolution of humans are lending way to increasing surface temperatures. And I don't need our planet because I think that's intrinsic, it's clear. Okay. Over the past couple of centuries, the Earth has shifted both on its axis as well as its distance to the sun, which has resulted in temperature increase. Okay? This has been accelerated by the Industrial Revolution, which has brought about factories which create... Ooh, I don't really like that sentence. I've already mentioned industrial evolution, revolution, so I don't need to really talk about that. So this has been accelerated by automation and factories, which create pollution that results in a greenhouse effect, further increasing temperatures on Earth, or the temperature on Earth. All right, in Saudi Arabia, the average temperature over the course of the past decade has increased by 1 degree Celsius annually, and now summer highs can reach over 50 degrees, forcing many citizens to find other places to migrate to. Okay, good. Now it's more concise. I like it. It's more accurate. It reads better. All right, so you want to make those kinds of changes. All right. All right. Okay, let's see what you have. Yeah, so June's asking, I was wondering, the example here should be related with the 2 reasons we talked about, like how certain human activity affects migration in a country. Yeah, June, it can, okay? So write your example, and then I'll let you know if I think it's accurate. Here, my example is kind of also my concluding sentence in some sense because I'm relating to the question, okay? So the question says that increasing temperatures are forcing people to find other places to live. So I've more or less explained why the temperature is increasing, and then I've given an example of where it's increasing and how it's forcing people to move. So again, I keep coming back to the original question. But yes, June, you could give an example that talks about how CO2 gases in the atmosphere have more than doubled over the last century, according to a scientific report. Okay. So Sammy says nearby. Nearby is one word, Sammy. So nearby city of Chennai has factories which cut stones, and this makes gravel for construction. This company produces a lot of dust and chemical powder, which spreads over the areas at least a couple of kilometers, and the trees in that place have died and oxygen levels have decreased. Yeah, so Sammy, you're doing exactly what June is asking about. So you're giving a specific example of a factory that's creating the type of pollution which leads to increased temperatures, okay? And yeah, that's fine to do that, all right? Just make sure you tie it back to the increasing temperatures, okay? It's a little bit tricky, all right? Nick Hill says, due to unprecedented increase in temperatures by more than 4 degrees Celsius in Canada and the US, the exodus of citizens are migrating to other countries like New Zealand. Yeah, okay, Nick Hill. So you're kind of more like my example, where you're actually giving an example of the shift of people from A to B because of those increasing temperatures. Okay, June, I'm glad you got that because it was kind of an awkward explanation on my part, but I'm glad you made sense of it. Okay. Deepika says, a year back, the world's largest forest, the Amazon, which produces almost 20% of the Earth's oxygen, had a major forest fire releasing a lot of smoke, causing people to be evacuated. Yeah, forest fires create a lot of fumes and gases as well, and definitely lead to increased surface temperatures. So that would be a good example, Deepika, of the natural change which leads to increased surface temperatures. Okay. So let's conclude this paragraph and then move on to body paragraph 2. Okay, so this is the cause and now comes the consequence. So connecting the two paragraphs, simply mention that this causes some sort of action, right? So okay. So this is my connecting sentence here. Clearly, the exodus of millions of people to other parts of the world has major social and political impact on society. Okay. All right, so that's my connecting, concluding sentence, because now I'm going to write about my second thesis point, which of course is the consequence of this increasing temperature and movement of people. Now, here again, I have to be careful because there are lots of consequences to this. It doesn't just affect our social and political spheres, but of course it's going to affect a lot of other like economic and so on, but I have to be careful not to have too much information in a concluding or connecting sentence, okay? All right. Rajveer, very similar. So Rajveer says this mass movement of humans to cooler areas has some serious ramifications on societies. Yeah, exactly. Sammy writes, these kinds of activities impact individuals to migrate to cooler parts of the world. Good. Okay. All right. Deepika, Amazon should definitely be capitalized because Amazon is the specific name of the forest. So the Amazon forest, capital A, capital F. Yes. Okay. Earth and the sun, that's kind of a rare case where small or big S's are used, or small or big E's and S's are used. Okay, so same idea here with our second body paragraph. Okay, so my thesis point says that the consequences are increasing competition and conflict. Okay, all right, so I want to again define that in a little bit more detail. So we're getting a little bit short on time in the class, so I'm going to start writing a bit more fluently my body paragraph 2. You do the same, so focus on fluency as well as content, and then I will take a peek up at the chat to see what you're doing, okay, and give you some feedback. So focus on fluency here. Hi, Paulo. Yeah, Paulo, ramification is a synonym. Ramification is a synonym for consequence. Both consequence and ramification have the idea of result, and it's negative. So some kind of negative result. Consequence or ramification. Ramification and consequence are basically perfect synonyms. Okay, both of them have a sense of negative result. All right. Okay. Rajveer writes, mass migration to the cooler places ignited by scorching hot temperatures increases the competition for survival as well as causes clashes among citizens in cooler places. Okay, not bad, Rajveer. I'm a little bit unclear on what you're actually saying with that. Okay. All right. So as population densities and the demand for survival increase in limited areas of the world, so too does economic and physical conflict among individuals. All right. Yeah, so here what I'm visualizing is people kind of being squished or squeezed into smaller parts of the world. So there's more people, there's less land, and people all want to inhabit the same land for livability. And I'm trying to visualize that and put that together in a clear way, using the right words. So I have the idea, and now what I was doing there was kind of finding the ways to express that idea. So this is what I came up with so far. And if I don't find the right words or the right grammar, that's okay. As long as I get my idea down, I can go on to my explanation and my example, and then later when I'm finished my body paragraph, I can come back and I can rephrase it, rewrite it. Okay. It's a little bit trickier, of course, if you're doing the paper-based exam. That's why I recommend doing this with pencil instead of pen, if possible. And in the computer base, that's kind of one of the advantages, is you just can get the idea down and then you can come back, erase it and change it, and it's going to be very clean penmanship and clear, of course. Okay. All right. Devansh says the increasing density in populations in cooler region leads to a fight for survival. Yeah, this circumstance is directly proportional to the change in the economic parameter of the nation. Devansh, that's quite good. Okay, it's quite good. June writes, the unprecedented migration to north and south will lead to larger populations in those areas, and thus more fierce competition in job markets and increasing number of conflicts among residents. Yeah, very good, June. Yeah, nice way to express it. Okay, so I have, as population densities and the demand for survival increase in limited areas of the world, so too does economic and physical conflict among individuals. All right. All right, so for my explanation, millions of people are seeking better lives in North and South America, as well as Europe and Asia, where weather patterns can sustain human life. As a result, real estate prices are skyrocketing and nationalist sentiments are increasing, okay? Or I might, instead of increasing, I've used the word increasing so often, flaring, okay? Nationalist sentiments are basically like when people feel that this is their country and they don't want other people to come into that country, right? So they're being protective of their nation or their national identity. And that also, of course, often has to do with that conflict and competition for space. So nationalist sentiments are flaring, and we can see some of that in the world today, okay? All right. All right. So there's a kind of real world example. It's fairly easy for me because I can actually see it here in my part of the world. So cooler cities in Canada, like Victoria and Vancouver, have experienced a population boom of 50% over the past decade, and this has resulted in average house prices being over $1 million. It's true. Just this past year in Victoria, the average home now costs more than $1 million. All right. Okay. Rajveer writes, due to the high demand of accommodation facilities for an increased populace in certain areas, the real estate sector becomes expensive and citizens experience cutthroat competition in getting jobs and buying homes. Exactly, Rajveer. Yeah, that's exactly it. You're very much in line with what I've been writing. Good. Sammy writes, when human beings are overpopulated in a particular area, that leads to more sickness and inflation surges. Therefore, people's lives are suffocated. Therefore, people suffer. Sammy, again, simplify. All right. Okay, so I'm going to review my paragraph, make sure that it makes sense. As population densities and the demand for survival increase in limited areas of the world, so too does economic and physical conflict among individuals. Millions of people are seeking better lives in North and South America, as well as Europe and Asia, where weather patterns can sustain human life. As a result, real estate prices are skyrocketing and nationalist sentiments are flaring. Cooler cities in Canada, like Victoria and Vancouver, have experienced a population boom of 50% over the past decade, and this has resulted in average house prices being over $1 million. Okay. All right. Now, depending on my time, I could digress further. So I would definitely do a time check here in the IELTS exam to see how much time I have for my conclusion. If I have about, let's say, 8 to 10 minutes left in my 40 minutes at this point, then I would definitely just go to my conclusion, finish the conclusion, and then review my whole essay one more time. So in a perfect world, you're able to review each paragraph when you're done composing that paragraph, and you're able to review the whole essay before the end of your writing section. That's in a perfect world, okay? So hopefully you can do that, okay? All right, so the conclusion. The conclusion also has 3 parts, kind of like the introduction, but they're a little bit different. So it has your points restated, your argument strengthened, and some kind of a take-home message. So something that's useful for your reader. Those are the different parts of the conclusion. Okay. All right. I'm going to type up the conclusion so we can finish this essay. You do the same, and then I'll try to take some time to check and see what you've written. Okay. Janelle writes, in relation to the previous example, certain parts of certain Canadians. Let's keep it simpler, Janelle. So in relation to the previous example, certain Canadians from British Columbia and Alberta are moving to Ontario, where property prices have boomed 60% over the past year. Sure. Okay. All right. Use in conclusion on the IELTS exam. It's a good idea. They like to see that. So it's very clear that you're writing a conclusion. Okay, in conclusion, both human use of resources and natural cosmic changes result in increasing temperatures on Earth, and this has negative consequences for people's lives. Namely, people are becoming more competitive and fighting for survival. Okay, just really being direct here. So namely, people are becoming more competitive and fighting for survival. Okay, what's the take-home message? The take-home message should always be something that we can clearly get from the essay. Okay, it's something that is derived from the explanations, from the examples, and it's something that might be useful for the reader. It cannot be a new idea. Okay, so let's think about that. All right. All right. So certainly humanity as a whole must rapidly evolve socially and technologically in order to mitigate the impact of climate change. All right. So basically saying like, yeah, we have to figure out what to do and how to do going forward in order to guarantee the survival of our species. All right, now that's our conclusion. So that is my essay. At this point, if I still have a little bit of time, I would review the whole essay and make sure that it makes sense. But unfortunately, I'm out of time, so I have to stop there. Okay. And don't worry, you will get some more time to practice writing because I'm going to be back in 30 minutes with a task 1 bar graph. The reason why task 1 is a bit easier than task 2 is because all of the information is presented for you. So it's not as much of a thinking kind of essay as task 2. I felt a lot of pressure in this task 2 to try to think about good sentences to create a good essay. And honestly speaking, I would probably revise this essay a couple of times before I'm satisfied with it. So when you're practicing at home, that's what you should do. If you're not completely happy with your essay, stop, read it again, revise it, make it better. Okay? In this case, I think I'm going to do that before I post it on our YouTube community board. So that's it for this class, but don't go too far because in 30 minutes, I will be back with a task 1 bar graph question, and we're going to go over that and complete that essay all in one class. And of course, everybody will be able to join in on that chat. You're very welcome, Sammy. Some good writing from our members today. I'm really happy to see some new members kind of jumping in and giving their opinion. Make sure to continue doing that, okay? So practice makes perfect, right? So keep that up. All right, everyone. So again, to see lots of videos, get lots more practice, see lots of task 2 sample essays, visit us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS, okay? All right.